Welcome to this Killick Explains video and welcome to part 3 of my 3-part scam series. So in part 1 I talked about why more and more people are getting hit by scams. In part 2 I categorised them 6 or 7 ways just to give you a flavour of how many there are. So in part 3 the obvious thing we haven't done yet is to explain how you stop yourself becoming a victim of a scam or warn elderly relatives, for example, who are probably more vulnerable about the dangers. All right, so this is a video to digest and potentially share. Now, the background, as I've covered in the first 2 videos, is that the Financial Ombudsman Service has recently reported, the FOS, that scams are at a 6-year high. Thousands of people flooding them with complaints saying, I've been scammed. Going to give a few more details about that later on. All right, the online world, unfortunately, opens up as we hit what I call peak digital. Many new ways potentially for you to be scammed in addition to the old ways. So what we're doing in this series is looking at who can be hit, how can they be hit, and what should you do about it, with an emphasis here on that third point. So the backdrop, people think this won't happen to them, inevitably, but the risks are rising all the time. As I say, the digital world opens up more potential, all right, and social media combined with crypto, combined with the lack of controls generally over some of these digital platforms, which I'll talk about more in the other parts in this series, open up the scope for more people to be targeted. So, how do you stop becoming the victim of a scam? And the simple truth is you've got to spot it, right? You've got to see the warning signs and then not engage, not get sucked in. So what are those warning signs, or what are the kind of don't do's? So I'm going to just list them here. There's more to know. At the end I'll give you a few more resources, but just be aware. Quite a long list coming up. So starting with anything celebrity backed. All right, I have nothing against celebrities, but often they know absolutely nothing about investing. And if you can get celebrity backing for a scheme, whether it's crypto or something else, then you are 50% of the way into, as a scammer, getting lots of people to believe they are making some sort of genuine commitment or investment. Any request for personal details is a bit of a no-no, all right? Purporting to come from your bank, purporting to come from the tax people, HMRC, or the police. If in doubt, phone back. Now, what I mean by that is, if in doubt, don't take a number from the scammer, because they're ahead of you. They'll be going, if you're worried, you can call us back on this number, which will be another scam number, all right? If someone purporting to be from your bank calls you, get your bank card out, say, I will give you a call back, and use the number on the card, not the one that the scammer recommends, because that will be just routing you straight through to their mate sitting next to them, if that makes sense. Anything which is too good to be true, all right? It's tempting. Someone says you can get a 20% return compound with just a little bit of a commitment up front. Some of the crypto-related scams make big, bold offers, but think realistically, is it possible to systematically beat the long-term return I could get on the US stock market, for example? Probably not. Right, something must be wrong. Either you're being asked to take a catastrophic amount of risk, or the whole thing's a scam. Time pressure is the next one. Pressure to act. Offers that expire. Move now, move fast. Be amongst the first to take advantage. Anything which puts a sort of guillotine or a deadline on your time is probably suspect, because you need time to think about it. You need time to talk to family, friends, spouse, partner, whatever. All right? And anyone trying to stop you doing that will put time pressure on you. Requests for upfront cash are a no. Now, it sounds obvious when you're sitting watching this video, but it can be quite subtle and quite sophisticated. Pay us a bit of cash, unlock some money, cover an admin fee. They make it sound very straightforward. Be careful. Cryptocurrency I'm not a fan of. You've got to know what you're buying into, and there's too many ways, because it's unregulated, that space can attract scammers and fraudsters, in my opinion. Strangers, if you're phoned by somebody who sounds warm, friendly and fluffy, but frankly you've never heard of before, it's not a friend, not a member of your family, not someone you've worked with, nobody you recognise, not an account manager you normally deal with at a bank, for example, be careful. Be doubly careful in the world of AI, because it is now increasingly possible to clone voices, for example, so that somebody you think you know actually isn't. So be very careful, all right? New websites appearing in your feed. That's a clever one. You know, you Google your bank, for example, and a website pops up, all right, or a related website pops up in the feed, quite high up potentially, because scammers can afford to move using the usual algorithms up the queue. And you look at it and think, oh, that looks about right. You click on it. And you know, people who are maybe partially sighted, for example, this can be a real problem. Got to take a really careful look at the URL and make sure it looks like the one you're normally used to. And then heavy advertising. All right, that's not a guarantee that it's a scam, but investment is fundamentally quite boring. So anybody using bright colours, bright numbers, strobe effects, if you like, anything to grab your attention on the internet, over social media, be wary, all right? And, you know, just keep an eye out for phone numbers that look suspect. You get a text message from a mobile phone, right? You don't recognise, it doesn't come up in your contacts. Don't be tempted to start responding, all right? And I mentioned your website URLs, just take a look at the URL, all right? Because bank URLs in particular are quite tight and quite specific. You know, look for random capital letters that weren't there before. So all this stuff's easy for me to say, but it's important. And in short, is what I'm looking at something that passes the sniff test, as I call it, or not? If your gut feeling is, oh, I better check this with my son, in my mum's case, for example, with a friend, all right, with somebody I trust, then do it, all right? And above all, don't engage, because that's what scammers want. They want to lure you in. And the longer you talk to them, for example, on the phone, the more likely it is that you'll drop your guard. Now, if you think, and this would be a bit sad, but if you think you've joined the list of people that have potentially been targeted with a scam or even worse, suffered a scam, then next to me you'll see a few suggestions appearing as to what you can do about it. There are reporting channels open, either online or by phone. There are various ways of reporting scams. So take a look at those as they pop up next to me. And don't be, above all, fearful or embarrassed. I suspect the Financial Ombudsman is not hearing about all the scams that take place, because sometimes people are just either embarrassed about the fact they have been targeted or scammed, or even fearful about the consequences of reporting a scammer. Don't be. Okay, that's my 3-part series on scams. If you'd like to find out more about this topic or anything related to it, killick.com/resources is a great place to go for 3 things: other Killick Explains videos, my series of how-to guides, and our quarterly flagship magazine, Confidant.